you look up Ziva, Z-I-V-A meditation.com, it has an entire like self-care center, and it's all free right now. So that is what I would say. But meditation, I think, gets a bad rep because people are like, well, I don't understand how to do it. And there are thoughts that keep coming. Let the thoughts come. There will never be like a thought-free meditation. So like, let that go. And even if it's just focusing for like 5 minutes a day on like just getting quiet and listening to your breath and just like feeling what your skin feels like and like what you hear and what you can smell, and just like be present with that, that'll bring you more to like what truthfully is going on with you, as opposed to what you think is going on, which if you never get quiet, you may never know. So I find that's been like absolutely so paramount for me, especially during all of this. And there's just no wrong way to do it, but just like breathing and being like honest with yourself in those moments, I think will be really helpful. That's what I suggest.
Awesome. Okay, second question for both of you. 10 years ago when you were finishing college, what helped you figure out who you are and how to brand yourself in this industry?
Ooh, baby.
I mean,
these all came from them. I did not edit their questions. I just put them in order.
That's an interesting one, because like I feel like I'm still figuring out who I am. And that's the kind of thing that like is constantly changing. So I'm now in my 30s, and I still like when I shave my face, I still kind of look young-ish. So I'm like finding that transition from like young newsboy, like dancer, tumbler guy, into like more character, still physical things. But I think like, I mean, our faculty at Wesleyan were super helpful, like narrowing down like, oh, like I played all of these roles in college or in high school, and realizing like, oh, those are not the things that I'm going to play when I'm in the real world. So our faculty, your faculty, they know their stuff, and they will be very helpful to be like, yeah, you know, you're not going to play those certain roles for another 10 years. And, or like, maybe you are going to play them now and you look like a 12-year-old, and that's great. And you're going to, you know, be in school. Yeah. You're going to play Newsies all over the country in every regional theater. And that's great. But that was definitely helpful for me. And I kind of knew, because like dance is such my like primary skill, that I knew I was mostly going to be looking for ensemble roles in shows with lots of dancing. So out the gate, that was like easy to narrow my audition searches.
Yeah, I think for me, I had way harder time, and I did a lot of different things.
It's always harder for women. We have to make it harder for you guys. Go ahead.
It's just true. There's so many of us, and so I learned so many valuable things at Wesleyan and got to really explore a lot of different things. And then when I got to the real world, I still, you know, no matter what you learn in college, you still are like, well, I guess I should dress like this. And you go to the audition and everyone's wearing like the same thing and they look a certain way or whatever. And it just gets so in your head. And so it took me a long time to weed through that bullshit. And then, and then like figure myself out just by living. So I think a huge part of it is just like having to go through that and like witness it for yourself. And then realizing, yeah, like getting specific with what you know you do best and being honest with the things you know that you don't. And that's okay. Like there are so many different outlets in theater. And so don't think you need to go and like fit into every role. Like be honest with yourself, because that'll save you time and save other people time
and heartbreak.
and it'll allow other people who are actually right for those roles to go in for it. And yes, there will always be the people who go to every single thing and ruin it for everyone else. But I would say that if you can focus on what you know is best, be honest, work on the things that you're not strong in, but like focus your attention on that, be specific as you can, then you'll thrive much more in the room, and that'll show. And then you will not have to do as many random crazy auditions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, cool.
Okay, third. Okay, this is for both of you as well. What is the thing you learned at IWU that has helped you most throughout your professional career thus far?
I would say that it's the friendships that you make and like the connections you make. That's absolutely everything. Like we obviously met, so that's like the best thing that could have ever happened to us. But I would say like we still have so many incredible friends and connections with our teachers and all the people that we met at Wesleyan, and that has opened, if not, it feels like that has opened every door that we've had. Like, so keep the connections, because that's truly like the whole point of life anyway. So don't lose that. Like, don't try to do it on your own. Reach out to people, let them know what's going on with you, and ask them how they're doing. So like really like not only ask for help, but like be supportive for the community that you've created. That's a huge thing.
Charlie typed in chat, he was like, hard work. And that's what I was, I mean, like, Anne Ranking used to say that, like, you know, talent can get you far, but hard work and manners will get you farther. And I've really tried to like bring that into my professional life. Like every time I have a new contract or I'm meeting new people, I think that's just super important, because if you are super talented but lazy, it like doesn't work. Or it'll work for a little bit, but then it won't, because the people that are working hard are gonna, they're gonna make more progress, and they're gonna keep making connections, like Britta said.
And there's no easy way. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
But that's good to know going into it, and so that you're not like surprised when it is. And if you feel like it's not hard, I don't know, maybe take a look at what more you could be doing. Sounds horrible, but it's true.
I will say, Evan, I still use you as an example of how to be in a room and how to be polite.
Oh,
Still the most polite young person to work with. They can all nod their head. That's what they mostly hear your name about. You hear lots of things, but I'm like, I need some thank yous, like an Evan Kasprzzak thank you at the end of rehearsal, please. So
it's true. He has a very good reputation for that, just everywhere. Yeah. Every time he's in a job, people afterwards, when we're like at the cast party, they're all like, man, he's just like the best. He's just everything about him. And like that, like, it's true. It's
what I hear. It's what I hear back too. They're like, oh, Evan's like the nicest guy. To go, well, I would claim that's me, but he has really great parents. I was like, he has a great family. So, but yes, I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What do we got going on next? This is another one for both of you. They want to know one show that really helped shape who you are at IWU and one outside of IWU.
All right. I got it. I mean, getting to do Of the I Sing was like, it was so great, because it like Scott kind of just like turned a bunch of us loose, and it was great because it gave us a space that like we were not in charge of. It wasn't a student run thing, so we were still being edited, but it gave a space where like you knew your ideas were at least going to be heard. They may get thrown out, but they were at least like being heard, and it kind of set up a space in a room of like best idea wins. And that's been really awesome, because I love doing like pre-production work, which if only it paid my bills, that would be great. But pre-pro, for those of you that don't know, a lot of times like it's mostly dance people will like bring in a bunch of dancers and try and get choreography out as fast as they can, because when you're in rehearsal, you only have 3 weeks to put up a whole show. You don't have time to like play around and see if ideas are good. But that process really made me realize how much I like to like kind of get in the dirt and problem solve. And I still do. I love pre-pro. It's like my favorite thing to do. Second half show outside of IWU. I mean, like Newsies was my, like, I got my equity card and made my Broadway debut. So, and I just made some really amazing friends. So it didn't necessarily change like who I was as a performer or an artist, but it definitely like helped me build a really awesome New York family, like pretty early on in my time there.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind with Wesleyan was, well, actually I have two. Sorry. I have two. One is, they're kind of like random, but one was Trojan Women, which I did my senior year, which was just like such a fulfilling, crazy character to play. Like
She was really
Andromache,
good.
who like has a child who gets thrown off the cliff, and it's like the most and like loses her whole family. It's like the most dramatic stakes ever. And so I really was forced to dig deep, and that was kind of when I learned that music was really helpful for me too, to like get within the character. So like that's something that I suggest if you've never tried like creating a playlist for the character that you listen to like create the world for you. That was the first time I did that, and it was the first time I like bawled and screamed on stage for a long time, and it was like the most incredibly therapeutic thing to do, and it forced me to expand. And then something about the dance concert with like all like Sherry and Jairus and Jean, when I got to do a lot of really cool things in that, and that's when I decided to be like a dance minor, and I was like, oh, I do have some natural ability at this. And then having them really like help me with that and like trust me with different pieces was just really fun and cool to like move in that way. And I think that's when I realized that I needed to do things like physical things in my life. So that was a really cool special moment for me. So thanks, friends. I love you. And then outside of that, like I can't help but think of when I was a Jedi at the Star Wars show at Disney. Like I can't help but think of that because it was a year long and it was a lot of it was like 5 shifts a week, 5 shows every shift, and it was like insane. But what I loved is that it helped me to become a really good improviser, because you're just forced to deal with like a bunch of kids and different personalities and people, and like stay within the scripts, but really have to be fluid and be like in present to take what you're getting and kind of like mold that. So that was a big step for me in like learning to find my own voice and stay present on stage, which was cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Next up, we're only on question 5. Okay, this is for both of you again. Can you expand on the importance of continuing taking class, dance or otherwise after graduation? And further, how often did you take class? Are there ways in which you are able to get discounted classes to save money?
Yes, taking class and like continuing your education is one of the most important things you can do. Because you will never know everything, and you will probably not even know most things. Which is like
so wise. I feel like we need that on like a shirt. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, discount classes are always challenging to find right now because of what is happening. A lot of people are offering free classes on Instagram or Facebook. Some people are even doing like private Zoom link classes. So right now you can get some really, really great stuff for nothing. But like when New York is in its standard like grind, in terms of dance classes, that's like usually what I find myself in. Sometimes if you know the teacher, they can sub you in. So like Steps gives you, I think, like five people you can bring in to take your class for free. So if I'm teaching at Steps, feel free to reach out and I'll gladly sub you in if I have spots. BDC, I think, only lets you sub in 2 people.
Broadway Dance Center.
So that's like much less likely.
But they have like packs, deals on packs and things.
Yeah.
So if you get on their mailing lists, you can.
Yeah, and there's also like you get an equity discount. I think it's $2 a class. It is not much. Yeah, that's what I know for dance classes.
For voice lessons, I would say, which Evan always knows he needs to do more of and doesn't. So
Don't
learn from him.
Don't get me started with this.
But I would say with voice lessons, again, it will be about your connections. When I couldn't afford to take them from like the leading teachers, there are a lot of incredibly talented people that are our age that do it. And so reach out to them, like reach out to the alumni, like reach out to us. And like Greg Friends, who, went, he didn't go.
I
just think of him because of Maya.
Yeah, he studied with
with
Scott.
But like there are different people that you can reach out to for that. And like I just would have friends play through my music and like help me figure it out and like just listen, so like if you can't afford to take it right away through like, the major people, I would say reach out to
I would say check in with other alumni. If some of you play the piano and you just like need things played, like reach out to each other. But there's alumni that are teaching voice lessons, and like I'm sure there's alumni teaching like private acting classes as well.
Yeah. Well, and acting wise, I was thinking one-on-one is a great place. And I'm pretty sure they're doing some online stuff right now too. One-on-one NYC. There's New York. There's Actors Connection. There's like a bunch of different studios again right now that are giving a lot of deals, but it's also like a great thing to ask for like birthday and like holidays and stuff. That's what I did for a long time. I was like, for any like gift giving holiday, I was like, just give me money for classes or something like that. And people are generous about that. There's also like different improv classes you can take. Upright Citizens Brigade is not the cheapest. That's what I did, but I found a way. But there's also the Magnet and the Pit. Those are great like improv classes. I don't know if we're giving as many good resources though. But yeah, I would say like reach out to your community. But right now, go on all those places and see what you can get now. Because you could probably do things that you would normally not be able to do unless you're in the city. But right now you're able to because they don't have their studios open. So
I will piggyback on you guys and say, this is the first time I've seen a lot of the secondary, because there's those big Broadway names. There's like, those 10 or so like voice teachers in particular that are like impossible to get into unless you're in a show or some producer wants to pay for your lessons, or, you just can't get into their studio.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people right now because of COVID-19 that have extra time on their hands and they need extra money. And so they are taking on some students just to try out. And so really a lot of these bigger studios, it's about who you know. So it's about getting in there and paying for a lesson. If they like you, they will work some deals. It's like Evan's saying about subbing in. I mean, most of the best dance classes I ever had, someone subbed me in because I knew somebody, right? I did a show with them and then they were like, oh, come. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought to go to that class. But eventually you're just gonna have to pay for some things. But I mean, this is a good way to help figuring out what to do. I'm gonna move you on because we have so many questions. And I want us to get to all of them. This is for both of you as well. What are some good habits you've recognized in yourselves and other successful artists that you recommend for people who are about to try to get their careers off the ground?
I think certain successful habits. I think one is, as we said previously, like being nice. It's like a very simple habit. Thanking everybody when you come in and you come out of a room, like all the time. It's really easy to do. And it's nice. It makes people feel good to be appreciated and to be thanked because they're working hard. Like monitors and like all the casting agent people and their interns and stuff. However long you have been there, unless you're like non-equity and you're waiting outside from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., but they will have been there all day and they will have seen hundreds of people and they're working hard. So a little thank you goes a long way.
I would say creating a routine for your day, and your week. So, and trying to make certain things like non-negotiable every day. So, I mean, that's again where the meditation comes in, but I would say having goals that are artistically fulfilling for yourself that aren't auditions, that you maybe write down a list of those things. Cause I think sometimes I get overwhelmed with all the things I want to do and then just pick one thing and then make a step that you can crush every day, 90%, you're really convinced, really confident that you can do that. So, I mean, and it can be anything, but just to keep yourself moving forward. The other one, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, is now I'm forgetting it. The pages.
Oh my God. Like the
Actor's Way. The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way.
We got there.
So you don't even have to do it specifically in that way, but basically brain dump all this stuff in the beginning of your day that's like getting in the way of you actually being productive, and then like move from that place. So I would say finding like healthy ways to kind of get all the chatter out and focus on that, and then scheduling things out as best as you can, and sleeping too. Oh
Morning
my
thing to say.
God.
I got
Yes.
one more. Find something that isn't theater related to like enjoy. Like, I really like to play video games.
And put that in your schedule
And like
too.
schedule those things in so that you're not like, oh my God, 9 hours later, I've just been playing video games. Put them in your schedule and like find something else that, you know, can occupy your brain. Because if you're just like 100% theater all the time, maybe that works for you, but it's helpful to have something else.
You'll probably burn out.
Yeah.
So don't do that. There's so many habits. Oh my God, I don't even know. Like,
it's
you're
endless.
just
That's
going
good.
forever.
That's good. That is good. Okay, we're gonna go on. Let's see. This is another one for the both of you. We are gonna get some easier ones that are individual. Can you elaborate a bit on the process of the audition? I didn't read this question before. Can you elaborate a bit on the audition process for dancer tracks for Broadway?
Yeah, that's super easy. So most of the time, you're either going to an ECC, which is the equity chorus call, or an open call, or an invited call. So they all kind of structure out the same. But a dancer call, usually they're going to, and obviously I'm speaking from like my experience, they vary slightly. I have friends who have like gone in and stood in a line and they were like, okay, thank you, bye.
I can talk on that.
Yeah, I fortunately haven't had that experience. But usually you go in and depending on where you are in that process, if it's an open call, they'll usually do a much shorter combination because they're probably seeing way more people. So like Newsies, for example, I went in for the open call. We did 2 counts of 8. That was it. They like taught it super fast. We did it. They cut some of us. They kept some of us. But most of the time it's go in, dance. Frequently the same day, they'll either have you come back later to sing or they'll just sing you right there. And then sometimes they'll bring you back in to dance again for more of the team, sing again for more of the team. You might get sides and music from whatever show you're going in for. Like on the short end of auditions, New York City Center encores are usually really, really quick. I just did Mac and Mabel, and my audition was 2 days. I went in and danced and then sang later that day. They sent me sides, just a side. I went in and did the side, and that was it. And I got an offer the next day. So that's like really short. Newsies, I went in like 6 times. So it's kind of all over the board. But most of the time, it always starts with dancing and then kind of trickles from there.
I can't hear you.
You muted yourself, Scott.
Well, fuck. Okay. 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 It's because I'm ogling between things. Okay. The next one's for Evan, and it's an easier question. Evan, what was your favorite song to do in Cats?
Oh God, favorite song in Cats. I really love Rum Tum Tugger because first of all, Tyler Haynes is just so wonderful. I've known him for a long time and he's just so much fun on stage. And Tugger was like the most like Andy Blankenbuehler-fied number in Cats. Everything else was kind of like very traditional Cats stuff. But Tugger had like all this, you know, like kind of funky stuff left in it. So I had a good time with that. That was always fun.
Awesome. Okay, next question is for Britta. What made you go into the fitness industry, and do you have tips on becoming a personal trainer? And what are the difficulties that you face in this new career?
Love it. So yeah, I've always kind of been a physical person. I like did a lot of dance at Wesleyan and before that, and then I just found working out as a way to, stress release. So I had kind of always done that part. And then through the years, I got kind of more into it as I was trying to like feel my best and be my best for all the auditions. And then a lot of friends would ask me questions like what should I do for this, or what workout should I do? And I was giving them advice, and they're like, you're pretty good at this. And then I actually when I was at Disney doing the Jedi contract, I met someone who was also working on the show, who had been in New York and worked at the gym that I now work at in the city. And she like trained me all about kettlebells and all that, taught me everything I know about kettlebells at work and weightlifting in that way. So anyway, I kind of like took that and ran with it. I was like, I think I need to get my certification. So there are several different ways you can get your personal training certification. I did mine through NASA, the National Academy for Sports Medicine. That's like one of the most widely recognized. So I just was like, well, I guess I'll do that. It was like $500. I'm like, it's worth it because then I'll have it and I can teach people, even though I was teaching people without it, which is another thing you can do. Just let them know you don't have it. But if they don't care, then who cares? You fake it till you make it. But anyway, so then I got it, went back to the city and decided that like auditions were just not feeding my soul anymore. Like it wasn't getting out of it what I needed to like feel full. And I was feeling really anxious about that. So I decided to kind of pivot and do this job at Mark Fisher Fitness. And tell me what the other part of the questions were. I want to answer the whole thing, but I don't want to.
Sure. It was, you kind of did cover it. Wait, I have to scroll back up now. You kind of covered it because it was what made you go into the fitness industry. You covered that. Do you have any tips on becoming a personal trainer? You kind of discussed about how that could go either way. And then what are the difficulties you face now in that position?
Okay, cool.
There's difficulties in every job, right?
Yeah, there are definitely difficulties. For me, this was it was a very smooth transition, like, cause I had the love for it and I had a really great community of people teaching me everything about the fitness. And I definitely reached out to friends who had done it before me. So that really helped me like get up and running with it. But, the challenges I think right now, of course, are that we don't have any gyms that are open. And one good thing though, is there's so many video options. So I've already been teaching nutrition and fitness videos through all of this and had been doing it before. I think what will be hard is we don't know when we're going to come back. And we also don't know what it will look like. So everything's taking a huge hit. So we don't know. I don't know what the challenges are that we will face, but what's great is things like Zoom are so helpful. Like my gym is still, which if any of you are looking for a gym to join, literally we're doing a thing called Homebody, and it's live classes every day. And you pay, I think it's like $70 for unlimited classes for 2 weeks at a time. And so you still get the feeling of being in a live class, but online. And I would say though, if you have the passion for it, it really does work out. Like people reach out to me all the time being like, would you mind like sending me a workout? I'll pay you this or whatever. So like, just keep yourself open and keep posting things that you enjoy posting. Like for me, it's nutrition and fitness stuff. People will come to you and reach out to you, and start with your friends. I trained a lot of my friends to begin with.
Awesome. Okay. I think the next question is for both of you. And it is, do you have survival jobs or small projects that help to pay the rent outside of teaching and fitness?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm not in a show, or if I'm not like on a contract,
Right.
I teach. And I do, like I said earlier, I do pre-pro. I do all kinds of like, which I guess is pre-pro is like sort of still show contract stuff, but those are usually the things that make ends meet for us. I've been fortunate that I like haven't had to have a restaurant or a retail job.
I have had all the jobs. So I definitely did a whole stint with restaurants, which was fun and interesting. And we got a lot of free food out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great one. A lot of places will give you free meals. But then that was not my best life. I did catering stuff, which is like I'm sure you've heard, is one of the most flexible things you can do. Because you could just pick and choose. There's also like, for me, all of my side jobs still include fitness and nutrition because there's like a million different, you could just do it based on each person. But other things like there are a lot of opportunities to do little temp things. Like there are a lot of temp agencies where you can just work like one-off jobs, or maybe one temp agency likes you, so you get to keep working with them. But there's so many jobs in New York. There's TaskRabbit, which is one where you literally, if you have certain skills, you put them in, and if people need those skills, they'll like rent your time. I was a nanny a lot. I love kids, and if you're into that, there's always kids that need to be watched, and it's so fulfilling. Like it really fulfills your like joy and artistic side to be with kids. So that's a great one.
And it reminds you how to play.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, there's another million. There are 1 million. Just like Google it. No, just kidding.
Well, I was gonna say, can I follow up on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna ask, there's a series of questions coming about New York City and about what to do once you're graduating and all the things that they're scared about, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted you to speak to is, you just said it, there are millions of jobs in New York City. Have you found, as expensive as the city is, and so is Chicago, so is LA, have you found that you've been able to stay employed in ways that you could live and you've been okay?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
we've never been late on our rent. There are certain months where I'm like, all right, we're not going out to eat this week, and that's fine. And you know, like it money is always stressful. Like even it's just always a stressful thing because it's constant. It's like always on your mind. And especially like if you're in a contract and you know that contract is ending, you're like, okay, well now I have to like stop spending the money that I'm making so I can save it because I don't have a job after this. And it's a huge juggle, but yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate that like we've always been okay.
Yeah, I find that Evan doesn't always do so well with the money, the stress of that.
It stresses me out more than it stresses
Whereas
her.
I don't know, I kind of just grew up like that, like not having that much money, so it wasn't like a scary thing. I'm just being totally honest. But one thing that has always helped me is the thought that money comes, money goes, money flows. Like there will always be a way. You will find it. Like, and if you're really feeling desperate, like reach out to your friends, see if there's job openings at their restaurants, at whatever they're doing. That's like how I got almost all mine again, was like reaching out. I would say also like look around where you're living. And if you can get a job at a restaurant like that you don't have to take a train or do anything like that, it's going to be way less stressful to spend so much time. You won't have to spend as much time commuting for that. So I would say like that's just another little tip, but we have always found a way. Even when we weren't living together and we were paying for 2 separate apartments, like you find a way. Like it's amazing how they like New York has you. Like it's abusive in certain ways, but it'll still take care of you and let you stay.
Okay, great. Let's see what do we got next. We have next. Well, this fits right into that. For both of you, what are the difficulties living in New York today, and what advice do you have for newcomers that are just about to move there?
Well, don't move yet.
Well, right.
Start there. I mean, we've said it and we'll like probably keep saying it. Like New York is kind of like an abusive relationship. It is the greatest and also the worst at the same time. So I mean, like standard like baseline challenges. New York is expensive. There are people everywhere, and like it's super stressful. Your base level of stress is just high. So like commuting is stressful, and dealing with people on the subway and crazy homeless people that are like peeing out the door and like, things like that are stressful.
I just want to say I've been peed on twice, but go ahead.
It's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Yeah,
so I mean like those things are stressful. There's like, I think mostly just like how many people you're in contact with every day, and like you know, your body doesn't know the difference between like a lion and people yelling and taxi cabs and all that stuff. So you're in this elevated like fight or flight place. But if you can find ways to like turn your apartment into a sanctuary and like let those things go and meditate and you can manage all of those things.
And find your community and find your coffee shop. And that's another thing, like the challenge, I'd say if you get to New York, make sure you learn your neighborhood and your like area first and like get comfortable with that before you like go straight through auditions, like, because you won't show your true self. You won't show yourself well if you are not comfortable yet. So like give yourself a little bit of time to like breathe into that, and don't feel guilty that you're not going straight for it. Like there will always be auditions, it will always come, but if you're not comfortable, it's not going to work. So get settled and like know what you need and be honest about that and figure out how to get that, and don't compromise on that because it will catch up with you. Like that's a huge part for me, is like I'm so sensitive to the stress. So having yoga and having meditation and having all that and having our apartment is like everything, like being the way that we need it to be. Yeah.
What was those challenges and then good things? Was that
No, they didn't ask for good things. Good things are later. They just wanted the bad things. They're all, focused on the bad things.
I understand.
I would say let's go on to the next question. And I've been to their apartment. It's charming. I had my 50th birthday in their apartment watching the Tony Award. So let's see. What's next? Oh, how do you both select material for the audition room, and do you have to select material for the audition room anymore, or is it just that you're given material now that you've gotten to a certain level?
I mean, I just sing things out of my book most of the time, that you always get before you go in. If you're like going in for an open call or an ECC, all the information will be on whatever breakdown you're looking at. They'll say, we want a contemporary music theater song. You're going to sing 16 bars pretty much all the time. Sometimes you get to sing 32. I've gotten to sing 2 whole songs ever. I've been in New York for 10 years.
It's amazing.
2 whole songs. So it's almost always a shortcut in whatever style they're asking for. Classic music theater, contemporary, or sometimes it's like, we want a 60s pop song. And you're like, great, there's a lot of music from the 60s. What does that look like?
But that's when it's great because you can choose whatever you want to sing. But
so most of the time I still sing out of my book initially, and then if you like get past that, then sometimes they'll send you sides and music from the show.
And also singing, like I would say, choose things that you feel really confident in and your voice can sing at even at a very heightened stress level. And then you can work on, passion projects or songs. And then when you feel ready, do that. But don't like jump the gun and be like, I've always wanted to sing this song, and then like practice it for a day and then do it. Like I would say really take the time, work with whoever you're working with for voice lessons, like really get into that so that you don't spend a bunch of auditions doing that and then finally feeling comfortable. So like there's a point at sometimes you just have to be like, all right, this is the audition that I'm going to debut this song. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. But yeah, if you have the luxury, like which I know you all have been working on your books for the whole time you've been there, doing the things that you really know and that you can like get into and like be yourself, and then have your other ones. If there's something you've always wanted to sing or that you know you can, but you're not quite ready, be working on that on the side.
And definitely building off that, if you have a song that you crush, but it's slightly not what they're asking for, it's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay.
Do it.
Obviously, like don't sing like,
I think that's good advice.
Contemporary music theater for like, if you're going in for like Sunday in the Park with George, like don't do that. But
there's some leeway.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of leeway.
Yeah.
Okay, the next ones came in. They're individual questions, but either one of you could probably answer them. The first one's for Britta. What is your biggest piece of advice when it comes to networking?
Ooh, okay. Biggest piece of advice when it comes to networking. I would probably say just to be honest, like when you are making connections with people about, like don't try to be what you think they want you to be. Be honest about like if you are struggling or whatever, and you're meeting someone, let them know like that you are having a hard time, but like you know, you're like, just be real with like where you are in the process. And advice on like growing that. I don't know. All of the networking that we have made has truly been from like making connections or like friendships with people and just like talking at like gatherings or like parties or whatever. And then when you talk with someone and you know, you're like, oh, we've got something good. Like following up with them, making sure you exchange like an email or a phone number or something, and just like text them and try to keep that going, and don't immediately say like, I want to ask you everything about the business, but just like, don't make a connection with someone that you don't want to be friends with, one, because that's just, it's not going to work and you'll be miserable. And two, then like be friends with them, like hang out with them. And then they're going to be more real with you about what's going on and what they can help you with as well. So that's been my experience.
Also like take people at their word.
Yes.
If someone says to you, hey, I would love to collaborate on this thing, take them at their word and like follow up on that if you want to, obviously. But if they say, hey, I want to collaborate on this thing, don't be like, oh, well, they said that, but they were probably just like being nice and like making conversation. They have no obligation to tell you something like that. So
yeah,
take it at face value.
And like
and also same goes for you. If you don't want to like collaborate or do something with someone, don't offer it up. Like don't put it on the table.
And if you want to like email someone and you're like, that seems crazy, like, I don't know if I can do this, you can do whatever you want. Just do it. Like my brother is so good at this. He literally, when he was in New York, he got a scenic design degree from SUNY Purchase, and he would like go into the city to see all the shows, and he like he saw all the greats, but he saw Robin Williams at Bengal Tiger, and he literally wrote an art, like for school, wrote about Robin Williams wrote a paper about him, and then he like emailed the manager or something and was like, hey, I want to read this to Robin. Is there any way I can go back and meet him? And they're like, sure. So he like went back, met Robin Williams, read him his essay about him, and like had a conversation with him. And I'm telling you, that happened like 95% of the time. My brother got to do all the things that he asked because they were like, oh, you asked. Okay. So like, just do that and don't be afraid to do that.
Plus, he is super, super talented too, though. His work is really stellar.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I mean, like, he's an artist himself, so he's an amazing designer. Okay, I'm gonna move you on. Okay, this one's for Evan. What recommendations do you have for seeking out audition opportunities? If most of that is coming from your agents now, how did you do it before?
I mostly I was fortunate. I had an agent when I moved to the city because of So You Think You Can Dance. But even now, I'll look on the Actors Equity website. That's mostly where I find myself since I'm a member of the union. And they used to let you, I'm so annoyed that they stopped doing it. They used to let you like look at what auditions were happening, even if you weren't a member. So that's what I did. I used to just like go on Equity, like scroll through and be like, okay, I could do that. That looks interesting. And like, I would fill my weekly schedule and like decide. For me, I could really only tolerate like 2 auditions in a day. That was like top end. It's like if I tried to do more than 2, I felt insane. And even at that, doing 2, I felt insane. So, and
some people will do 2 or more than that. And that's great if that works for them, but don't do it just because they're doing it.
Yeah. So if you are in the union, or if you have a friend who is in and like will give you their login, scroll through the Actors Equity website.
Actors Access as well.
Actors Access is great. I think, does Backstage still do stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, those are like the best ways to find open calls. You can go to ECCs even if you're not a member of the union. Know that you may not get seen. Obviously, like dance calls are usually you're more likely because they're seeing more people. If you're a guy, even more likely. I only got turned away from like 3 auditions. I
have the completely opposite experience.
I live a charmed life.
Tis true.
At least he knows. But yeah, Evan just hand farted, by the way. So if you heard a fart, it was his hand. I was like, okay, this is
those are the most common ways. Equity website, Actors Access, Backstage. I think there's a bunch of online portals that I don't know about.
Awesome. Okay, this is a two for both of you. How have you guys helped each other support one another's careers? And what are some of the things or hobbies you like to do outside of the industry?
Great. You want to go or you want me to start?
Okay, I'll go. So I'm living my best life because I get to still be a part of all the things that he does and go to his, projects and I know a lot of the people in the business because I've been in it and also because of him. So it's like such a pleasure to get to support him. But I think for him, it's like reminding him of the things that we're talking about now, like that he needs to still like get his mind right and like sleep and like eat right and like meditate and do all that and just like listening when he needs to vent, but also being honest with him when he needs to go to a voice lesson and like just gentle but true gentle honesty. Yeah. So I'm like trying to be honest so that and he knows it's coming from a place of love. I don't want him to be stagnant, so just reminding him of that, but also just being there. I'm always there if I need to be. Okay, go.
Yeah, I mean, yes to all of those things. I feel I'm a help to you. I do lots of household chores when I have free time, because oftentimes our schedules are either identical or completely opposite. So if I'm in rehearsal, usually like I'm gone all day and then Britta works evenings. So I'll try to like cook dinner when I get home and make sure there's leftovers and stuff for her.
He's an incredible house husband.
I do all right.
You should all get yourself one of them.
Yeah, but also, I mean, we do the same things for each other. I think I help you like get out of your head when you're like thinking about all the things you should be doing, even though you're already kind of doing them. You're like constantly working forward and progressing, and
and reminding each other of why we love what we're doing, and also taking a big thing that I've found through the years is like therapy. So there are also a lot of ways to have cheap therapy as well, and like talking to a therapist so that I don't have to then put it all on him, because that can get weird and dangerous too if I'm just unloading everything on him. So finding like outlets. There's also a bunch of like, now there's a bunch of telephone therapists and like online therapists. I mean, I wouldn't say just like Google that, but like there are some great resources for that. And so then you're keeping your mind right so that you can be present, and also like we can share, but we don't have to feel like we're suffocating each other.
And then hobbies.
We love going to the movie theater.
I was just gonna say that.
I stole it. We are obsessed. Like we have a theater close to us that we can walk to. We've got the Regal pass.
I know that theater.
Yes. It's so good. And we'll pack all of our own snacks. They don't care. We'll pack our own popcorn, everything, do that.
Save that money.
There's just so much good. There are so many good movies, but also just there's so many good shows too. So that's something we love to do, because I think as an artist and an actor, like you can learn so much. It's like a bunch of master classes. Some of these shows are so incredible, and some of these movies. So I don't think of it as a waste of time. I mean, obviously if you're doing it for like 9 hours out of the day, but like having that as part of your like learning, I think is great. So we love watching shows.
Yeah. Obviously I said earlier, I like playing video games. I'm a big nerd. What else?
Yeah, we have some follow-up gaming questions later.
Oh, right. Good. Also getting outside, being active, taking advantage of the nature that is around, because New York does have a lot of incredible parks. So go to freaking Central Park, or like we've been getting more into going to museums. Finally, there's like a million of them. There are so many, and there's always like a free day.
If you're a New York resident, I think all of the museums in New York do a free day every week for New York residents.
Yeah, so like taking advantage of that, which we're doing more and more these days. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's see what's next. This is for, wait. This is for Britta. I'm sorry, I had to figure out where I was. Oh my God, we're only halfway there. Okay, Britta, are you tired yet? What is your advice? You train a lot of Broadway people. You do a lot of health coaching in your weird fitness thing. So what are some of the key proponents that you put out there to maintain a healthy Broadway level lifestyle?
Oh man. I usually look at 5 categories, and I do this with everyone, but I find it's really helpful with Broadway people, is like looking at your, so in categories, your stress, like rating it, basically rate your stress, your sleep, your movement, your food, and then your like work, basically. Yeah. And then you rate that on a scale of 1 to 5. This is just a great little like thing you can do at any time, rating those 5, and whatever is your lowest number, because 1 being like abysmal, 5 being the best, whatever's your lowest number, we start with that, because the big thing is like working on habits instead of working on everything at once. So start with that, go for your lowest number, and then see how there's like if there's one little thing that you can shift within that. But I'd say it's so much about keeping your mental health in check, especially being in this business, which is so just exhausting and draining, and it takes a toll on your ego and on what you believe. It's hard to remove yourself from
your product.
So finding ways to do that. And so I think often when I have people rate that, stress is always like a really big one, of course, like sleep, all of that. And so then diving into that more, it's just like sleep. I'm telling you, I know that college is weird, but like 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single day is going to just make you feel so much better mentally, so much like clearer, crisper. You're going to show up better. I'd also say like, it's so funny because I keep saying sleep and meditation, but if you can get that done, a lot of other things fall in line. And then,
well, like the mental side, your brain is in control of every other part of your body. So if you have your brain right, everything else stacks up.
Yeah. So I think those are the things I would focus on the most. And then also, you got to spend a lot of time undoing what the entire, I don't know how to like undoing just all of the things that the false beliefs that get put on you through being in this business. So like really, really taking time to undo that and to fill yourself up and to practice body positivity and practice like eating like to fuel yourself in like a healthy, happy way instead of like starving yourself or like just saying like, I need control, so I'm just going to eat everything because I don't want anyone to tell me that I can't do something, so like finding just the mental balance in that and all of those things, which again, meditation, reaching out to your friends, therapy, sleep. Yeah. I'm going to stop talking now.
Sensing a theme.
Awesome. Okay, so this one's for Evan. There was a lot of different questions, and I put them all together into one. They wanted to know the difference between theater or stage acting and what you discovered about being on camera and film and television. And did you need to cross-train? Did you need to learn some things? How are they similar and how are they different?
Yeah, well, so for me, like a lot of the dancing is kind of the same. One like weird thing is obviously like if you're doing it live, you are just doing it that one time, other than the 8 shows a week. But it like is just happening in that moment. And you're doing multiple takes when you're shooting a movie. You might do 3, 7, 12. So you have to be prepared. I think one of the big things for me doing film versus stage was like, it's a different kind of endurance and you have to gauge your fuel tank differently. Cause like for the show, like how long the show is, what that endurance feels like. And when you're doing who knows how many takes, you don't want to like go full all of my energy in the first take, because then you have nothing left and the preceding takes will look terrible. And a lot of times it's things that aren't in your control that cause it to have to do it again. I haven't done any like on film acting classes. And most of my like film and television work has just been dance. I would you've done actually more, you've had more on-camera experience than I have in terms of acting.
Yeah, well, just speaking to like the acting side of it, I remember doing many different fun experiments in the classes where they would like they would record you being interviewed and then take the volume off, like mute it, and then you would have to, with the class, watch yourself and be like, what is this person telling you, or like what are you getting from this person even without them saying anything? And then most of the time, if you're a theater background, it's that you were too exaggerated, so then it's like thinking of you and your subtlest moments in life and like just being as little as you can. It's literally going to be here. So the tiniest little thing, you don't even just think it, don't even do anything, just think the thing. That was a big thing that I like learned, was in dialing it down, was like I can think it's more internal, mostly internal. And then there's like, obviously with the things he was doing, it's like all dance things, so it is more exaggerated just because they're dancing, so that is going to be different. But the acting, like,
it's
think it, don't like show it.
It's small stuff. And I would be on set, like, you know, listening to Sam Rockwell like do a scene, and I would be like 3 feet away.
You can't hear
and
them.
You can't hear them. They're literally talking like this. But then you see the footage and you're like, oh, that looks amazing. It sounds great. But on set, it sounds like they're whispering at each other.
It's even quieter than you are in your regular life. So that's what I'd say. Just like practicing the subtlety and like feeling it from the inside without the expressions.
Awesome. That was good information. So Britta, do you have any recommendations on how to grocery shop for healthy food in a smart and financially efficient way?
Oh my God, do I ever. Okay, so grocery shopping for healthy food in a efficient, smart way. I have a thing. So a lot of people like to grocery shop for recipes, but I more like to grocery shop for like trying to build like a balanced meal. So when you're looking at it, macronutrients are your protein, your fats, and your carbs. So I'm just giving you like I'm gonna not go too long with this, but so protein is like your eggs, your chicken, your ground turkey. If you're vegetarian, your tempeh, your tofu, you know, if you're vegan, beans, all that. So looking at your grocery list in these categories as opposed to recipes. So looking at getting a few different types of protein when you go. And then like writing down a list of all the proteins that you like. So that way picking like 3, if you don't see any of those at the grocery store, pick the thing that you do see or that does fit your budget that is within that protein category. And then carbs, I hated when I had to tell him this, but carbs do include like vegetables and fruits, but carbs are not bad. So congratulations, eat them. But like, so with the carbs, like breaking it down to veggies, getting like, say 3, I literally pick a specific number of each thing. So like 3 proteins, 3 veggies. I'm going to go broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, 3 fruits. I like apples, bananas, blueberries, and then going for like other carbs like rice or potatoes or whatever that is, like picking like 2 of those, and then picking like miscellaneous things like healthy fats like avocados and nut butter and different like cooking oils. So when we go, instead of thinking of, I'm going to make this one recipe and then have all these like miscellaneous things from this recipe left over, think of like each different part of your balanced meal and getting several different things for each of those categories. That way you're flexible if they don't have the things you need for that specific recipe, and you can just mix and match those things then once you get them home. So that's the way that we do it. And we also just shop deals. Like Whole Foods has amazing deals now because they're through Amazon. So we look at the Whole Foods app and we look at whatever's on sale, and we look at based on what we want. A lot of times we like to get like wild caught fish. We'll get it if it's on sale. If not, we'll get the ground turkey that's cheaper. So shopping for deals, but also shopping for
around the outside.
I'm a big proponent for that too, because like that's why when y'all see me post recipes, like there'll be like 12 with shishito peppers. It's because I got a big thing of shishito peppers to keep, and so then I find things to put the food that I purchased into the recipe versus shopping for a recipe. When you shop for a recipe, you just have a bunch of shit left over.
Yeah, you end up, you're like, what am I gonna do with this jar of who
Fish
knows
oil.
what.
It's always fish oil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fish
And
oil.
then
And it's
you're
expensive.
overwhelmed. Yeah, you're overwhelmed and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you stop cooking. So make
Right.
it as simple and easy as you can, and then get crazy and fancy like Scott once you know what you're doing and you can do all kinds of cool
Yeah.
things.
And just quick suggestion. I assume you're all like learning to cook or have figured it out or haven't figured it out. Learn to cook ingredients, like just like Britta said, like learn how to cook a chicken breast.
Which we're actually going to be doing this week. We're actually going to start posting like how-to videos on like how to make chicken breast and like an egg and stuff like that. So stay tuned. My Weird Ass Fitness on Instagram.
That actually is awesome advice. I think that's the number one thing that young people don't know how to do is cook food.
Yeah.
And so they eat other things because they think it's harder than it is.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because it's really not hard. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Evan, what are some of your favorite video games that you're hoping to stream on Twitch sometime?
Let's see. Right now I'm playing The Division 2. My brother's really into it and he just dragged me in. I have a super long like backlog of games in my Steam library. So I'm going to try and work through like some of the indie titles. Like I have Celeste and Hades, which is a roguelike. So it's has so many games I want to play. Yeah, most of the time I end up playing like Destiny or The Division because I just can't escape looter shooters.
Whatever that means.
That was a good answer. There's many, many people in this room that are very excited about your answer. And wait, what is it saying?
What platform?
Let's go on my Facebook.
I mostly play PC or PS4.
Pumped.
Okay.
Okay,
So
pumped.
here's the other question. The next question is for Britta.
Okay.
The question says, you both have gone to work for Disney, Evan with Newsies, and you with Star Wars. I'm really interested in Star Wars. What was it like to work at Disney World for that long?
Yeah. So it was incredible for so many reasons, because I got my equity card through that. I met some amazing people, and like Disney, especially if you're equity, which they will make you equity a lot. So that's a great way to get into the union, is like getting a Disney job. If you're equity, they do treat you really well. Like you get really good benefits. You don't work that many crazy hours. Like I got paid for 40-hour weeks, but my shifts were like 6 hours, because it was like a 30-minute show and then 30-minute rest, 30-minute show, 30-minute rest. So it definitely takes stamina, because it was outside. And so it was like physically exhausting, but I didn't actually have to work like an astronomical amount of hours, and I always had a weekend. So that was amazing. The benefits are also that you meet a lot of people, but you also get free access to the park and you can get other people in. So that was amazing. You can save a lot of money while you're there because it's cheaper to live there. So we were able to like bank a lot of our money, and we also like lived in an apartment which was so cheap. It was crazy. So we lived in like a cheap apartment that was like way bigger than our apartment in New York, and then we saved that money, which was great. Things that were hard though were Disney will always put the guest first, which is amazing, but like they will sometimes do it to the detriment of the people that are working there. So one thing that I was like the Norma Ray of my cast, like I had a fire behind me to like get to make sure everything was up to OSHA standards, because we were so hot. There was such like heat exhaustion because we were wearing like an entire wool outfit and like high boots and everything, that like I kept calling being like, equity, this cannot be okay. Like we're going to pass out and die. Like it's insane. But so that part was frustrating because that takes a little bit longer for them to come to you, because they're like, well, it's not messing with the guests, even though some of the guests, I would say it probably was messing with them. Anyway.
Those poor kids that were fed slushies.
Yeah, there was a kid who projectile vomited a slushie out onto all the other kids. It was unbelievable. So there were definitely moments like that, but man, it makes for good stories. And we learned a lot like through it. And what was I going to say? Shit. What? Oh, thinking about that one time. I think it was something blue. It was blue flavor. But one interesting thing about the whole Disney thing is like when you rehearse, you rehearse like overnight. I mean, you rehearse, but then once you're in the show and you have to like change anything about it. So when we went from fighting Darth Maul to fighting Kylo Ren, we had to like do overnight rehearsals. And so then you're being like approved. They approve you or don't approve you based on that rehearsal. It's like 4 a.m. and you're exhausted and you're doing it. And then you're like, God, I hope I'm doing okay because I'm barely awake. And that's how they like decide if you're going to be accepted to perform. So that was definitely an interesting part of working at Disney. And Evan on the other side, like he was doing more like businessy stuff, and he had to do a lot of overnights because he oversaw all the shows.
Oh my God, I did like 3 sets of overnights, which was like 4 or 5 days at a time of 10 to 6. That's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was crazy. You just like don't know what end is up. But it is also a really cool way to see the park because it's empty. Like that's the only time that the parks are empty is after it's closed.
And I mean, it is really magical. It is. And like the best part to me also was the Make-A-Wish kids. A lot of Make-A-Wish kids go through, and to get to experience like pure joy through all of the kids. But then when a Make-A-Wish kid would come and choose to be with you for your show and like experience this thing, and it was so like real for them, that was like incredibly emotional and one of the most powerful things I've experienced. And so obviously there's good and bad to everything, and we like cherish the time we had there. And if you want that kind of like experience, you can also work with like at a bunch of different shows at the same time at Disney. So that's kind of cool. You could like do a bunch of different things and like really have a house and like start a family and all that like pretty easily. I would say fucking do it. That's
okay. Next up is, it's for both of you. Do you have agents? When is it time in your career when you feel like that you need an agent? And I know, I didn't write this question, so I know, Evan, you've had an agent since So You Think You Can Dance, but it's for both of you. And what should you consider when looking for an agent or when you're dealing with agents?
So technically I don't have an agent right now. I just have a manager, but they're acting as my agent. I got one before I moved to New York, which, like I said previously, it was very helpful because I got to kind of skip the whole like waiting outside at 5 a.m. thing. I got to go to equity auditions as a non-equity actor because I got to go into invited dance calls. So that was really great and helpful. Do I think it's necessary to have an agent right now? Like, as you're graduating? Definitely not. You can get into all of these things without one. The big thing is how much time you're investing. You have to keep up with what's coming through the pipeline and what's like on the websites and all that stuff, and figuring out your schedule and how that all works. But honestly, like you kind of don't need one. I mean, like I've had friends who have multiple Broadway shows and didn't have an agent. It's helpful just for your sanity. You don't have to follow up with casting agencies. You don't have to keep track of everything that's happening regionally, nationally, whatever. You don't have to try and find whatever labs are happening that may not end up on the websites, things like that. So it is absolutely helpful, but it's never necessary.
Yeah, I never had an agent. So definitely not necessary, but it is way easier.
Yeah.
But then you have to pay them part of what you make, which, I mean, it's not that big of a deal because they are doing like a lot of work for you, but it's just like you have somebody who's like rooted, who's standing up for you, which is really awesome. And one way to find one other than like submitting to all of them would be to like, if your friends have agents, have them ask for you. They can vouch for you. And that's a huge way to get in with it. Yeah. And if you are doing anything, you invite all those agents. If you are doing your own, like I produced like several of my own projects and would invite people to that. So that's a big thing. Like you can make your own things happen. There's so many spaces you can do it for a pretty affordable amount. So I would say do that and then invite them to that, and just use the people around you.
Yeah.
In the kindest way, but use them.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say that's perfect because it leads into the next question, which is, for both of you, what kind of artistic work interests you most now? And is that different than when you first graduated?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier, I love pre-production. I love it. And I wish I could make my living just like getting in the room, helping problem solve, and then like sending a project off to wherever it's going. It's just so much fun. I love getting to figure out the puzzle and like, you know, creating like a vocabulary and things like that. Yeah, I mean, that started with Of the Icing. So it sort of changed. I wanted to like when I started, I wanted to do pre-pro so that I could get in the room so that I could be a part of the project on the completed performance end. And now I don't really care about that as much.
Yeah. When I first started, I think I did auditions for everything, like dance, singing, acting, all that stuff. But I think where my passion lies has always been doing like theater performance or like film acting, but not as much of the singing and dancing. I mean, I love the singing and dancing, but I think I just kind of started like wanting to submit more to film things. And like, even if it's like student films, there's like a million student films, and it's fun. Like, it's really fun to like get to work on that and see both sides of it, and then have like a reel and all of that. So that was really something I loved. And then improv. I'll always love doing improv and like sketch writing. It's just really fun. Like and there are so many classes to do it, and you can do whatever you want. Like, cause I'm just a weirdo. And when I was doing UCB, I did the sketch writing as well. And I literally did a bunch of sketches about buttholes, and it was like, it felt so just right for me. And also it felt fun to just like say whatever the hell I wanted and not like feel like there was any weird like box I had to fit into. So I think like slowly I got into like just wanting to do things that just felt more like authentic and real for me. And so I slowly kind of chipped away at that and ended up where I am now, which is like the weirdest gym in the world. And I can say buttholes and fucking shit and whatever I want all the time. But not that that's the way I need to express myself. I'm going to stop talking now, but yeah, anyway, bye.
Okay, I'm gonna move on at buttholes to another question. How did you go about navigate? Wait, no. I already said that one. Sorry. Were there experiences you had at IWU that were pivotal in creating? No, you already answered that too. Sorry, I should have taken that one out. Evan. Best part of working in a big Broadway show, and the best part of working in these workshops or new work or labs, and any original work you hope to produce soon.
I mean, best part about being in big Broadway shows, I mean, it's nice to have stability, sort of, some stability, really great. You feel like you get to feel like a part of like a really special thing, not just like the people in your cast, but like the whole thing of like Broadway. And I know like I had this idea of like what Broadway is and what it is to be a part of that. And it feels like you're part of a really cool club. And that's like such a unique thing. So that's definitely like the big Broadway show thing. Workshops and labs and all the like developmental contracts, it's cool because you're on the ground floor. So it's scary because it's unpredictable. Like I've done a number of labs and workshops and things that have gone nowhere. And like I did it and now they're gone and who knows. But it's cool to like see things taking shape and getting new sheets of music every day for like songs that are changing or scenes that are changing and stuff like that. That's like a really fun, cool thing to be a part of.
And you've gotten a lot into like dance theater things.
Yeah, I've been doing recently I've been doing lots of like dance narratives. I did a pop-up Halloween show last year.
It was really cool.
It was a secret location, which was steps the dance studio. But it was like this like weird Halloween thing. My friend Al Blackstone, who's just like
Who is doing
he's
classes online
he's
right
so
now,
brilliant.
and you should check him out, Al Blackstone.
He's doing warm-ups every Thursday at Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30. It's really fun. Anyone can do it. But yeah, I've been doing a lot more of that stuff. I've gotten to do some like immersive dance theater work, which is really cool and weird and trippy. And I'm really enjoying that stuff right now. I am not producing any of my work, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, next to us is Evan. How did you kind of transition into more choreography and teaching? Has that been something you've always been passionate about, or can you kind of figure out when it became that was more of it?
So I'm not really doing choreography, and that's actually not something I'm like trying to transition into, mostly just because it is equally difficult to be a choreographer as it is to be a performer. And I don't enjoy the choreography as much as I enjoy the performing. So in my mind, I'm like, well, why would I do the thing I don't like as much when it's the same challenge? But transitioning into teaching, it happened pretty naturally just because I was like, I had this So You Think You Can Dance thing on my resume. It's a big, like, cool thing that people are like, oh,
You're like, so he thinks he can dance. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, pretty much. So like I reached out to some of my friends and my brother's friends that were like running dance conventions, and it's like, hey, I just finished the show. Do you need a tap teacher or a music theater teacher? And some people were like, no, we're all set. And some people were like, yeah, come on. And like the first summer after I graduated, I was in like 7 cities in 6 weeks, and Canada. It was just insane. But that, yeah, I was really fortunate. It like kind of happened naturally. And then this last year I like picked up some I subbed for some friends at Broadway Dance Center and at Steps. So that's kind of
goes back to the friend connection.
Yeah, the friend connection. That's the easiest way to get in. Like if one of your friends is teaching somewhere, just ask. Be like, hey,
can I assist you? Or...
yeah, like, can I come assist you? Or if you don't teach the same subject as them, be like, hey, does this company that you work for need someone that teaches what I teach? Or if you do teach the same subject as them, say, hey, if you can't teach all of your classes, if you can't make a weekend, I would really love to jump in for you. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so the next question is, why did you choose to move to New York? And this is actually for Britta on the piece of paper. Why did you choose to move to New York right after college? And do you think it's a good idea?
I love that. So I chose to move to New York. I mean, honestly, a huge part of it was that Evan was already there, and we'd already been together for a while. And I was like, well, we're going in the same direction, so I'm going to move to where he is. And I would say, yes, if you have any reason, whatever your reasoning is for wanting to go there and try it out, I'd say that you should, because you may always regret it if you don't. And one thing I can say is that no matter what you learn there, no matter what your experience is, you will be a stronger person for it, and you will be able to make it anyway.